And welcome back to Living Every Moment Nerdy. My name is Joseph. I'll be your Jedi Master for today. And today we have Holly, Hoops, and Evan. And we're talking about our shows, our movies that we loved when we were younger, and how they evolved to what we do now when we're older. And we're going to start today off with Holly. Tell us about a show you used to watch when you were younger that you really loved and was obsessed about.
So a show that I was really obsessed with as a child was, I don't know if any of you guys remember this, and I'm not going to pronounce it right, so bear with me. It's called Rurouni Kenshin. It was an old anime. His name was the Batosai.
I love the Batosai.
Oh my God. That anime was so compelling to me as a kid. Like, this is the type of thing that I would go home and the whole entire day I was at school. I'm like, what's going to happen, man? Like, what's going to be the next adventure? Is he going to save her? Are they going to fall in love? Like, what's the deal? And I eventually had to stop watching it because I went to my friend's house for a week in the summer, and by the time I came back, I couldn't even tell what was going on anymore, and there was never going to be any reruns because it was still going, I guess. But I just loved that show. It was so much to me as a kid, and I loved the way everybody dressed, and he was so intense. He was probably my first anime crush, to be honest.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's beautiful. Love the red hair.
Mm-hmm. He was such a good character too.
Oh yeah, he had the reverse katana. It was the sharp edge was on the opposite side of what a normal katana would be. The reverse blade.
He swore that he was never going to kill anymore because he was I guess felt bad after years in the war or whatever, and he was reformed, just beating people up with the dull side of his sword.
Hoops, do you know what dynasty or emperor or time frame Rurouni Kenshin takes place in? Or
no.
I actually do know. It's the Meiji era. And it was a time, I guess maybe after the shoguns were all toppled. Now, don't quote me. I'm not 100% sure. This is some very light Wikipediaing here. But I believe it is the Meiji era, and it's after they toppled all the shoguns, and now they have regular police and a regular society or whatever. So,
all right.
But it's during that really popular time in anime. You know what I'm talking about? Where everything looks the same. Even you still see it a lot now. Where all the houses are have those paper screens, and everybody's wearing you guys know what I'm talking about.
The stereotypical anime setting.
Yes, it's a very typical anime setting, and they just did it so perfectly. I'm so glad that was one of the first ones really captured me.
It is a good story. It is a story of a Ronin, a classic story that has been told in many different ways, and is a very good anime. Not as fast-paced as some of the animes today.
Batosai does it best.
I will agree. The Batosai can lay it down. Hoops, what about you? What is a show when you were younger that you just had to watch, and if you missed it, it'd break your heart?
Oh, man. So I think that a show that I absolutely had to watch and couldn't miss an episode would probably have to be Gundam Wing. And the only reason why I say that is because Gundam Wing kind of felt I had watched a lot of different Gundam series up until that point, but Gundam Wing really took a dark turn. It showed the side effects of PTSD, though I don't even know if anyone back then really knew about PTSD. And it was a war between Earth and the colonies, and traditionally in those in Gundam series, it was always the Earth that was seen as the good guys. Whereas in this one, it was the colonies that the main characters came from. So I think just it being about war, giant robots in space, of course, big explosions, I think that really drew me in, especially because they were teenage kids and they were piloting these mobile suits, these Gundams. And I could kind of see myself maybe, I think looking back on it, that's how I view it now. I could kind of see myself back then okay, me and one of my friends back when we were kids, maybe that could have been one of us that would have had to pilot that mobile suit and go to Earth. So I think Gundam Wing is probably one of those shows that I couldn't miss a single episode. Otherwise, I would be sad at the end of the day.
And you know what? I can actually really see that because I think Gundam, for me personally, was my introduction to giant fighting robots. And that was the first time I ever saw it. It was the coolest thing in the world. And their kids, this this is something children get to do, like where can I sign up to be a Gundam pilot? So I can totally understand like the captivation with it at such a young age. Like that's like the coolest thing in the whole entire world, especially if you're just like going to school and doing regular stuff.
And I guess one other thing that I could tie that into is maybe Power Rangers. Get these young kids, you give them the power to save the world, and they fight in giant robots. So maybe because it was an animated version of giant mech fights, I may have been really drawn to it.
Oh, hold on, because I have something to say about that when it gets to me. But first, Evan, what was your show as a child? The one that really captivated you?
It's funny that, so there was, I guess, 2 shows really having network television. The first one was, it normally came on during the day, especially like during the summer, but it was Arthur. I don't know why, but for some reason I really just had to watch the show. Like, most cartoons were like okay, but that was the one I'm like, I gotta get home. Arthur's coming at like 1 o'clock or something. Like, I gotta get there. But the other one was, I don't know if you guys remember it, but it was called Zoom, and they just did like science projects and stuff like that on TV.
Yes, I do remember that. PBS, right?
It's Zoom. And oh my God, it's like every day after school, it was perfect. I would just get home and I'm like, oh my God, these science projects are so cool. Like they're melting ice to strings or, you know, like balancing forks on cups or, you know, just some crazy little stuff that you can do at home.
Oh yeah, like making a phone out of like a styrofoam cup and a string and learning about sound waves and stuff.
Right.
Oh, I definitely remember that show. If I had to tell you a show though, about when I was younger, the 2 shows for me too that comes to mind. My first one is Beast Wars. And if you don't know what Beast Wars is, it's an old show in the probably mid-90s, late 90s that centered around Transformers. But instead of them being robots, they were animals. I know, don't think about it too much. Apparently Transformer technology can like adapt to any situation, and apparently they just chose cars when they got here the other time, but the first time they were on Earth, they were beasts, and the Decepticons were dinosaurs, and the animals were the Autobots, and it had the worst animation, but for its time, it was the best animation.
Yeah.
Oh,
correct.
The second show, and that is Power Rangers, and Power Rangers was a show for me that really captivated me and I loved to watch. And I watched it probably longer than I really should have. So if you don't know, there are multiple Power Rangers series that follow it. Anywhere from Power Ranger Dino Thunder or something like that, Power Ranger Ninja Storm, Power Rangers Rescue, which was created and surrounded around civil servants right after September 11th. There's Power Rangers Mystics, Power Rangers Racers, Power Rangers, the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So it's a very...
In space.
Yeah, Power Rangers in Space, Power Rangers Galaxies, Power Rangers Time Force. Thanks, Hoops. You really helped me on that one. It just activated 3 more shows. But I really enjoyed those shows because it was like, you know, vigilante, you know, it's a group of people coming together, uniting their unique strengths, kind of like Lemon, to take on, you know, evils and stuff like that. I know that's really dorky to say, but that's just me.
I just want you guys to know too, Joseph says that he watched Power Rangers longer than he should. Like a year ago, Joseph insisted, and I mean like really insisted, that we sit down together and watch the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie.
It was as solid as a trip.
Not for me. It was the first viewing for me personally, and I just was not as amazed by. I'm sorry, Joseph. I'm sorry to tell you that. I know it's devastating.
Oh boy, them fighting words with him.
But
Ivan Eves disapproves.
Oh,
it's
God.
Morphin time.
What?
Oh my goodness.
Later on the news, local husband convicted of domestic abuse with morphine.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like Power Rangers, but I felt like I like the older one a lot more than I like the newer ones that have started coming out like a lot later. But as a younger kid, I don't remember the robot's name with the head that was like a disc with the lights. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
Oh,
What was his name? Oh gosh, I can't remember.
I don't know if that was the original Power Rangers or not, but
Say it again.
the guy whose head was he was like a robot. I think he worked in the control station or something.
He worked with Zordon.
Danger, Zordon. Danger. What is his name?
Rangers.
Starts with an A. It starts with an A. I'm
Is it
sorry.
Alpha 5?
You might be right. I think it's.
I'm trying to Google it with this crazy information you guys are giving me. It's so
It's
hard.
just the red robot in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It was
Alpha
pretty much
5.
Alpha 5. Yeah.
I win the
Zordon.
podcast for today.
The Rangers. I'll stop. That's not helpful.
It's great. You should do the rest of that
That
voice.
is the most iconic thing I can remember from that show. I was just like, what in the hell am I watching right now? Because I was born in 1993, and that's pretty much when the show came out. So I must have watched it when I was at least 3 years old or 4 years old that I couldn't even remember seeing it. Versus when they had like reruns being older. But I was just so confused.
Oh yeah, they would because the thing about Power Rangers is it was owned by I think it's a band that owns them is the correct pronunciation for it. It's that little thing you see with the kids in the globe and they'd all fall backwards and they turn into like a flower. That's that production company. And if you look into them, they release pretty much almost all your childhood cartoons. And because of that, they held on to Power Rangers so much. Like you might remember like a rated R Power Ranger fan film that came out in 2015, 2014, something like that. And a lot of people pushed for it to actually let's make a rated R Power Rangers, so we can love our childhood, but with, those adult sensibilities. And I understand where they're coming from 100%. As an old fan and someone who really liked the show growing up, to watch an adult one that's more gritty, more realistic, seems cool. It's giant robots and people fighting. Come on, you can't complain too much. But Saban will never let it happen. And that's why you'll see reruns of still Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on some shows and some channels because Saban will never let go of that, ever. And they will rerun it, and they'll sell it to different countries and rerun it again.
It's a great cast now.
Yeah, for real. So let's go on to what are the shows that really interest us when we were older. And Hoops, we're starting with you. What is the show you're watching now?
Oh, so the show. What am I not watching now? That should be the real question. But
I think we can all say that.
I think right now, and I am in my late 20s now, but the one show that I look forward to every single time there's a new episode for is probably My Hero Academia.
Yes.
My Hero Academia probably has one of the best anime heroes named All Might in it. And that guy is everything I ever wanted in an anime hero. He's probably one of my most favorite characters, but another character in there that is just, if not my tied for number one, but a close second, would probably be the anti-hero pretty much. His name is Endeavor. And that guy just has family issues galore. And he has, his own personal doubts because he wants to be the best, but that's something that he just can't, he could never be the number one hero until finally one day, he is. And he just has such a good storyline in it that I don't want to spoil anything, but the last episode of the last season that's been released so far, that Endeavor is now one of my most favorite characters in any anime of all time. Another show I'm watching, One Punch Man. There's Promised Neverland. Just so many shows right now that I am watching and I'm caught up on that I couldn't just name one if I'm being honest.
I'll tell you one thing. My Hero is definitely one to watch. And if I had to say favorite character from My Hero, I would say I love Midoriya. I love his can-do spirit. And to be honest, I don't cry to a lot of shows. It takes a lot to get me to the edge. And
Correct.
anime does a really good job getting me there. I know Naruto, with spoilers, Jiraiya dies. That one, like, really hit me in the heart real, I was like, I want to be a Splendid Ninja too. Oh, yeah, and he's just floating down in the water. Totally sad. But, like, when you hear Midoriya just talk about the good he wants to do, it's like I feel that need for, like, good in the world, so I relate to it, and I understand that desperate need to want to do something and his continual strive to work towards that goal. And honestly, it's heart-touching in a way.
So going back to what you and Holly just said about Jiraiya's death, Evan, have you seen Naruto?
Absolutely not.
Well, we have to change that. But then I'll direct this question toward.
Have their moment.
I'm going to direct this question then to Joey Tuh and Holly then.
Okay.
So, are we in agreement that if there is a top 5 saddest anime moments and or deaths, that Jiraiya's death is on that list at least?
Absolutely.
100%, because you're followed by the next 4 episodes is where, like, this big meetup between, Naruto and Pain fighting, and, like, all these things coming out, and, like, it's pupil versus pupil, and it's all these emotions coming out, and you're like, oh my god, everyone kind of got screwed in this situation. And then when you see, like, everything, like, Jiraiya has done in his life to do for the world and do for himself, and then to just see him die and like, to leave his hope into his last pupil, and then to see Naruto, beat Pain, convince Pain to do the right thing, and to come to the village and be welcomed as a hero. Like, what a complete story.
Oh, it was so devastating.
600 episodes to get to.
And see, Evan, that's why you may have a hard time with Naruto. It took me like 2.5 years to finish it because it is no joke, like an 1,000 episode ordeal. It really is.
Correct.
Though, with the dawning of streaming, you can skip fillers and you can fast forward over the anime openings that always seem to be like 4 minutes long.
Right.
Yeah, thank God.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I have watched a few animes, but I mean, it's not really my go-to show that I would watch every day.
I feel like I have a love-hate relationship with anime, and that's actually why I like One Punch Man so much, is because I feel like that's the least anime. I feel like they cut out all the nonsense anime repeating and shaky eyes and crying nonsense. One Punch just gets straight to the point and is cool, and I love that anime for that.
Someone's getting punched in One Punch Man.
But you're not going to have to wait 18 episodes for a fight. Like, One Punch is going to get it done today.
Right.
For sure. Evan, if you're not big into the anime, what are the big shows you're watching these days?
This one maybe need to a rant because I'm a huge fan of Forensic Files. Like, I watch that show almost every other night before I go to bed. I really love it. Peter Thomas' narrating voice always puts me to sleep. Even if we're talking about blood spatter and I'm still sleeping like a baby. But they restarted the show actually, and to be honest, it kind of sucks. The narrator's voice, when we're talking about, scientific methods that are being used forensically to, catch killers and stuff, it has to be, intense, but that's all the voice is. I forgot the narrator's name, but it sounds like he's describing, like, police car chases and stuff. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, watching the show alone is just, ugh.
You kind of need that from the narrator, that kind of, like, matter-of-fact voice and then he plunged the knife into her neck. Mm-hmm. And it kind of, like, that matter-of-fact thing kind of shows you, like, this happens every day, almost.
Yeah. And I need to hear him say gas chromatograph mass spectrometer for it to be real.
What is that?
I mean, it's widely used in forensics for the most part, but it's a machine used to find, like, certain chemicals or traces of things, and it's used in just about every 3 episodes, and it's like an inside, true crime nerd ordeal fashion. But that's the one thing that that if they use that thing, they're going to catch somebody.
It's like the episodes of House where it's like, it's lupus. It's definitely lupus.
Right.
What about you, Holly? What are the shows you're really watching? I guess I really should know that one, but I'll have you tell us.
Thank you. To kind of piggyback off of Evan, I love to use South Park's term. I love murder porn. All of those shows on the ID channel, and we don't even have that anymore, are so good. I want to find out how everybody killed anybody. But the one I love the most is the Unsolved Mysteries, narrated by Robert Stack.
Robert Stack? Oh my God. Yeah.
Those are fire. Oh my God.
Yes.
Like, they do 4 things. I actually watched a documentary over Unsolved Mysteries. I'm going to break it down for you guys. They actually try to cover 4 different topics per episode, like one crazy hidden city, one murder, one missing person, and, 2 guys from war that are trying to meet up again or something like that. But they're all so interesting, and a lot of them are the murder ones, and they are really, really sad. And I guess I just like to be scared because I love those. But what I really like about watching these Unsolved Mysteries from the 90s is sometimes they do have updates, and they're really good and consistent about giving updates. So, like, they'll tell you if this lady who was murdered in 1972, if they ever found out, who did it or, whatever became of that case. So I really like that they give consistent updates so I don't have to go and Googling about all these poor people. Unsolved Mysteries will just tell me.
And just go down that rabbit hole and just click on the next person that's also related. And you're like, dear God, what have I done?
I have had so many sad afternoons where I am just going to all these cases, and then Joseph's like, you can't do that anymore, dude. Like, you're getting scared of the world. And I really do, but I just love him. And I'll go to sleep to him too, and it gives Joseph nightmares. But like, tell me about that congealed blood, man. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, and why, you got to determine that cause of death. Why, if they drop the temperature down in the room to try and, slow down that decomp rate, we're going to know, man. We're going to know.
Yes, that's something fishy right there. I totally agree with all of that. So I watch a lot of those shows, and I love all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Before I get into my shows, let me just tell you something. When you hear, like, Unsolved Mysteries and Forensic Files and you're going to sleep with them, like, I've always suffered from chronic nightmares. As a kid, nightmares to the day. So nightmares have kind of become normalized in my head, so it's not really a big deal. Like, sometimes I lose sleep, sometimes I don't. It is what it is. But when Holly plays murder porn or Ancient Aliens, boy, does that send my dreams into a whole different, like, I need to be in a different combat mindset now because now I'm being chased by an alien Freddy Krueger serial killer and I need to get out now.
That's like the way to go to bed.
I'm like training for some weird alternate universe every time I go to sleep now, to the point where now I play Mythbusters underneath my pillow. I was like, at least I'm going to know science before I die from this dream. But the shows I've been keeping up with, I'd have to say it's the same with Hoops. It's almost twice in a row, but it's My Hero and New Girl, to be honest. I'm rewatching New Girl for like a 5th time. I know it's some people's cup of tea. They don't, but I love Zooey Deschanel, and I love the comedy, the sarcastic comedy in that. And My Hero, I love the fun stories and the adventures and the action and the combat. And I would also say One Punch Man too, But a show I did watch was Mayday. And that show was a show Holly found on Amazon Prime.
It was great.
Oh my! If you have Amazon Prime,
let me write it down really quickly. Yeah.
It's called Mayday Air Disasters.
It's a Canadian air show.
Yeah, we were talking about this, and I meant to ask you again. I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to set an alarm for 9 p.m.
Every episode. Go ahead, Holly. You go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that I am a very anxious person, so I'm already really afraid to fly. But this show it terrified me sitting like in my apartment at work. Like I watch a lot of TV while I'm at work, and it caught me just like I'm sitting over here for 10 minutes just watching these people tell the story about how this plane went down. And my boss walks in, and I'm like, just hang on, you got to wait a second. I got to find out what happened to Malaysian Airlines, whatever.
For sure. But it's suspenseful, but not suspenseful as some of the movies some of you might have watched. And I want to know, what are the movies you used to watch when you were a kid? And how has that evolved to what you watch today and this afternoon? And what do you go to the movie theaters to see? Evan, Tell me what movies you started out watching as a kid.
You started off on me, you sly dog. So it's funny that, as I said before, most of the movies I watched were a vast genre. I mean, I think the main reason why I don't like cartoons as much is maybe because I didn't watch them as much as a child. I maybe watched like a VHS or a DVD of something. But as far as movies as a child, oh man, they would still have to be in the same genre. But I was fascinated with Aliens for some reason. Aliens and I would always watch like Mafia or like mob movies. I liked the feel of them, the slow. It was violent crime, but the other side of it was like, in other movies you see they live violent lives and then they go home, they party, they do all this crazy stuff. But in mob and mafia films, you go home with your family, you eat dinner, you go to bed, and then you wake up that morning, or maybe late at night, crack some guy in the head, dump him in the river, and go about your life, you know? That's what makes it so much more suspenseful, because you're like, is this man going to get caught by the police or his family, which is equally terrifying for this character at this point.
All right. Would you say that same mentality carried on to when you were older? Do you still watch those movies? Is that still the movies you're drawn to?
Oh, absolutely. And the movies have only gotten better because the same actors are in them. It's still Al Pacino. It's still Joe Pesci. It's still Robert De Niro. And I'm still a fan of Martin Scorsese, probably till I die.
Oh.
The other thing was that I always end up finding movies on IFC, the Independent Film Channel. I really love. But my newest, latest, and greatest movie genre that I've just been binging 24/7 and it's starting to get to me mentally is Aliens again. There have been so many good alien movies that have came out that I must have missed somehow. But man.
Oh, I hear you. I definitely hear you. The Alien series is one that we're going to have to take some time to really dissect, especially with...
It's just...
Yeah. Well, especially with, not even just talking about, the progenitors, the aliens, how they came to be, what the stories are about. We have to also introduce Predator at the same time, because now they tie together.
Right.
So, yep. Holly, what about you? What are the movies you used to watch when you were a kid, and how's that changed to now?
So some of the movies I watched when I was a kid is actually being from my parents were both working class, so we could never buy the $30 movie that was just released. So I always had to watch it after one of my friends bought it and I'd go over there. But my neighbors actually would lend us a lot of movies. So I ended up watching, they had a copy of Indian in the Cupboard. I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen that movie.
Oh man, that's nostalgia right there.
I watched that movie 150 times, every weekend as a child. I mean, it was on a VHS tape, and I didn't even really like that movie that much. But once you watch it that many times, you love it.
Exactly.
Do you guys remember the ending?
No, what happens?
The ending is the saddest thing, because if you remember, there's a cowboy and a Native American, and he puts them in this cabinet, he turns the key, and they turn alive.
Yep.
Yeah. So towards the end, it becomes so much of a hassle, and what really makes that movie beautiful is a lot of the whole scenes are coming alive in this child's room, which is very reminiscent of a child's imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And what's sad about it is kind of towards the end, he's kind of realizing, he needs to grow as a person. This is becoming too much. So he puts the toys back in, closes the cabinet and locks it, and then opens it again, and they're gone forever. These people, it's kind of like a kid dealing with death through toys.
Right.
And it's almost really impactful. If you remember that, I remember it because it was so impactful as someone who, from the small town, my parents worked a lot, so, I couldn't go over to friends' houses and stuff like that. So your imagination's almost everything to you. So, to willingly give that, greatest joy that you've come across away, even as a child, says something really important about maturity and death and everything. Right. At least that's what I thought about as a kid. I was always kind of an old man.
Yeah, that movie just always, I don't know, it was just something else as a kid. And I didn't necessarily see the death connotation, although I see where you're coming from with it now. I always almost kind of saw it as like that kid is like growing up into a new phase
Yeah,
of his life.
it's like a coming of age.
Yeah, like it's like a really weird Indian in the cupboard coming of age movie, but it was really solid as a kid. But one of the movies I really like now, and I'm actually going to watch this afternoon. I've been watching the previews for this on Netflix just time and time again. It's Silence of the Lambs. I love that movie. Hannibal Lecter is so weird and terrifying. He's the type of person that like it looks so regular, like it makes watching movies like that makes me suspicious of everybody I see on the street. Like, what are these people doing when they're not on the bus or at work or even though you look normal, you could be some crazy liver and Chianti weirdo at home. Like,
You know what? It's always a pillar of the community who always becomes the murderer.
see, that's what I'm saying. So, like, Silence of the Lambs is like, oh, everybody's weird. I just know it. Especially if you look normal. If you're extra normal, I don't trust you at all. You are going to eat me in your house. I know it. Like,
Can't trust Buffalo Bill.
You can't. That's a very good point.
That movie is so weird, but I love it too. What about you, Hoops?
So some movies that I used to watch as a kid were definitely a little bit more PG. There was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Return of the Ooze that I really enjoyed.
Yes, I do remember that.
That was one of my favorites as a kid. Star Wars was definitely big in me. I don't know about my whole family, but I mean, I was big into the movies, big into collecting the toys and playing the hard video games that they had. And you know, nowadays I do think I gear more towards the sci-fi genre now that I think about it. If it isn't some sort of obviously when I think of some go-to movies for me, they're Goodfellas and Casino are gonna pop up on there.
Yeah.
But I can still watch the original Star Wars movies, and I still think that they're good. I think that those are great movies to this day. Not so much the prequels and the new ones, especially with all the flack that the new ones got. It kind of I thought they were good upon first sight, and then after reading and hearing other people's opinions, it kind of dawned on me that they were for sure right about them, and it's really hard to rewatch those now. But Star Wars, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Old Yeller was that was
Really?
a tearjerker. Old Yeller.
I've never seen Old Yeller. I know how it ends, but I've never actually seen it.
Put her down, Ma.
That was a bad one for me as a kid. I hated watching the ending to that movie, but yeah, nowadays it's definitely, it is. And nowadays it's definitely geared, I think, more towards sci-fi movies that I'm going to wind up watching. I've watched Ready Player One at least 10 different times. I think that movie's phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree with you. And even you saying that makes me think about, well, what are the movies I watch these days? And if I honestly think about it, I haven't been running to the movie theaters to watch a lot of new movies. And let me tell you, as a kid, I'm right there with you. Love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, with the ooze and everything. Loved it. Canisters, all sorts of fun for kids. And I love Star Wars. I love the originals. And I used to give a lot of flack to the prequels, but I'll be honest, as an adult, looking back at it, looking at the movies and how they're written and the story of Star Wars compared to the newer movies, I almost wanted to apologize to the prequels and be like, hey man, I didn't mean to treat you like this whole time. Now I feel
Sorry, George.
Really yeah.
Right.
Sorry, George.
So bad now.
Yeah, I know. I think a lot of Star Wars fans feel this way. They're like, sorry, George. I know you added a lot of political talk to the prequels, but I kind of want that more rather than a whole movie that's kind of like a very slow spaceship car chase that doesn't really make sense by the end of it. With a whole casino scene that doesn't add anything and kind of just seems like it's just setting up for more money grabs and stuff. And I love Disney. I was a Disney kid. But Disney has a terrible habit of beating a dead horse dead to the ground where it doesn't even exist anymore. And that's what it feels like Star Wars is going. You know, The Mandalorian seems good. Rogue One seemed good, but then you get those solos and you get pretty much the last three movies. I almost want to give Force Awakens a pass, but to be honest, that one kind of upsets me with kind of just repeating episode 4.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it feels like such a, man.
Like, how many times are you going to build that space station, guys? Come on, that obviously doesn't work.
I remember me and Hoops were joking about it. We were like, what are they going to do, another Death Star? And they kind of
That's exactly what they did.
Another Death Star.
Yeah.
And you can't do that, especially when the second Death Star gets destroyed while it's in construction. You don't go completely destroy a complete structure, then destroy an incomplete structure, then destroy another bigger, better, complete structures with resources that you didn't have because you're the remnants of an old order that kind of didn't have the money to build the second one to begin with.
Wait, Emperor, let me, or whoever's in charge of the First Order, let me offer a suggestion. A bigger Death Star.
Sold. All right. Sold. I know a guy.
Like, what does the Empire even do to get this money? Like, how are they funding these Death Stars and Star Killers? I would just love to know. I'd love to see their accounting.
The taxes.
It's rough. It's rough.
With all the slave planets we own, I'm not gonna get into the whole accounting thing. You guys are asking a lot of questions there. As a representative of the Empire.
I want to see those finances. We're nerds, damn it. We need data. We need information.
Hey, you guys want to see numbers? I'll get some of my legal nerds in here. Let's get some paperwork started.
I bet somebody knows. I bet somebody on the internet has already done this research, and it's just up to us to find it.
Oh, yeah, there is some accountant right now who is, like, just furiously working out the details of, like, well, they have this many blasters and this many things, so they don't carry two, so that's probably a device that they only buy one, so they probably have a limited amount, and probably goes on to a huge list down to, like, how much probably stormtroopers use toilet paper and, like, what's the cost and environmental impact. Yeah. For sure, and you know what? That kind of wraps out our conversation for today, and like last time, if you liked our conversation, like, comment, subscribe, tell us about what movies you like to watch when you're younger, how your nerd changed, and